Your ears are listening to the Magnetic Presence Podcast. I am your host with the most, and someday I'll be a ghost, Joey Freddy Larson. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about the power of silence. See what I did there? Why is it that some people speak for 5 seconds and command the whole room, while others just talk nonstop? They never shut up and they get ignored the entire time. And why does one pause feel so powerful and sometimes another pause feels real awkward? And why in a world of noise, is silence becoming one of the rarest and most valued form of influence? We're going to talk about all of that and more in today's episode. So let's get into it. So we're talking about silence. I'm not talking about emptiness. I'm not talking about dead air. Wah, wah. We're talking about power, because the strongest communicator in the room is often not the loudest one. It's the one that knows when not to speak. Sounds like another Yoda-ism. Yes, often the powerful one is the one who knows when not to speak. Yes. So let's get into it. Most people fear silence, and a lot of people treat silence like it is a failure. Like if there's a pause in any conversation, they just rush to fill it. They're like, oh my God, it's getting awkward. We're not saying anything. He's not saying anything. She's not saying anything. I got to say something. If you're in presenting mode on stage or on screen in a webinar, often you're rushing to fill that with filler words and just jumbling jargon just to say anything to fill that silence. When someone asks a hard question, talk about not being silent. Luna, silent. Snorting and grunting over there. Maybe you didn't hear it, but I can hear it. Luna rarely knows the power of silence. Luna's my little pug. When someone asks a hard question, a lot of times people just start panicking and they start rambling. Well, you see, there's a reason. Because what happens often when silence occurs, we feel exposed, and when you stop talking, you are exposed. There's really nothing to hide behind, because in silence, it's not filler words. It's not some verbal smoke screen that you're throwing out. You're not performing during silence. What silence really is presence. And often the most magnetic people you know don't have to say anything, and they really optimize and maximize their presence with silence. And that's why, though, that silence feels so uncomfortable to so many people, because it actually forces you to be with yourself. No, silence. I got to hear my thoughts. Get out of my head. And what happens is, if you can't be with yourself and your own thoughts for 3 seconds, often your audience that you're talking to, they feel that emotional instability right away. So here's the brutal truth. A lot of people do not fear silence. What you actually fear is what the silence reveals about your internal state. Think about that one. So, why does silence create so much authority? You see, authority, it's not created by speed, it's created by steadiness. Steady Eddie. Oh, that guy is a steady Eddie. In the storm, he is calm. And when someone speaks slowly, pauses intentionally, and remains composed, what happens is your brain, your nervous system, your subconscious reads that as confidence, certainty, emotional control, status, safety, versus someone who's rushing and really talking and rambling and I got to talk so fast. That signals the opposite to us. Often that reads as anxiety, as neediness. Oh, please, 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 I got to say something. Hopefully, if I just talk enough, you'll say yes to me. Overcompensation, and also lack of conviction can come across as not even believing what you're talking about. Same words, completely different nervous system. And pausing and silence, that says, I'm not scrambling. I'm not seeking your approval. I trust what I'm about to say matters. And that's why silence can increase authority faster than better words, better slides, better copy, and better messaging. So let's talk about the science of pauses and attention, because there is actually real psychology behind this. Number one, pausing increases processing. You see, your audience needs time to absorb what you said. And if you stack sentence on sentence on sentence on sentence on sentence, it's just mind boggling. You're throwing all this information at people. And what happens is comprehension drops, especially if there was something in there that they didn't quite get. Because then all of a sudden they're like, wait, what was that? And you're on to the next sentence. And they're like, no, I'm still thinking about this other thing. And then you're on to another sentence. And they're thinking about that thing. And then they missed the sentence you just said. And all of a sudden your audience is lost because you didn't take your time. So silence, it gives your audience, it gives their brain a beat to start organizing meaning. What does that mean? How do I feel about that? Yes, that makes sense. I've heard that before. That resonates with me. Oh, I never heard anyone put it that way before. Or you ever say something and then you pause and you hear the audience go like, ooh, damn, mic drop, right? There's a reason it's called mic drop, because you drop the mic. Nothing else needs to be said. Silence will do. So drop the mic, let that point land. Number two, as far as the psychology of pausing, pausing also creates anticipation. There's that tension of when you stop before an important point, tension rises. Snap to attention. Oh, what's going on? Oh, what's he saying? Especially if it's right before like a punchline or the final point. Like the biggest secret you need to know about making money in 2026 is silence. Number three, pausing actually improves memory. There's research in communication and learning consistently shows that pacing and segmentation improves retention. Information delivered in chunks is remembered better than nonstop streams. If I just get up here and I start just rattling off all kinds of facts and figures and I just don't stop, it's just like that's like a raging river of information and you just get blown away by it, versus a drip here, a drip there, a drip here, a drip there. Gives time for people to actually collect that information and assimilate it and make sense. Number four, as far as psychology, is calm delivery really regulates the nervous system of your audience. Remember that human beings, we co-regulate. We have these mirror neurons. So how you feel affects how I feel. How you're acting affects how I'm acting. So your pace affects your audience pace. So if you're frantic, then I'm like, oh my God, welcome to the podcast. I'm going to tell you 100 things about silence today, and we're going to have so much fun. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. You're just like, oh my God, this guy. But if I'm calm, I'm grounded, the room feels that too. So your silence can really calm your audience more than any of your words can. Think about that. Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. Does that make you feel calm? That's the worst. Saying calm down is the worst thing you could say to someone when they're not calm. I've been there. Yeah. Anyone ever done that in a relationship? Calm down, calm down, calm down. No. But if you give that person space, maybe you don't say anything, let them vent. I see. I'm feeling that you're really flustered and upset. Not calm down, calm down, calm down. So let's talk about some examples of silence in action in the real world. The first example, a weak delivery. So I'm going to just throw some made up sentences to you. So I start the webinar and I hop on here and be, hello everyone, I'm really excited to be here today. And I want to share 3 things that changed my life and hopefully they help you too. Now let's get into it. Versus a more magnetic delivery. Zoom comes on, webinar starts. Hello, I am so glad to be here today because I'm going to share the one idea that completely changed my life. And it might just change yours too. So, what do you say we get into it? Same concept, completely different impact. Hopefully you felt that. Another example, is in sales. Weak sales might be something like, okay, well, let's get into the program. Our program is so amazing. We've got coaching, we have community, we have 64 modules, there's 9 bonuses, you're going to get 14 templates, there's 3 ways of community support, and you can email our support team, you can talk to the chat bot, and oh my goodness, you're going to love it. Just a fire hose of stuff that nobody cares about versus, listen, joining our program is going to give you 3 things: clarity, confidence, and execution. I said a lot less in the second one, but it seemed to land a little stronger. Another example in just regular conversation. Anytime you're talking to somebody, when they ask the hard question, you ever been asked a hard question and you're sometimes your brain goes off like, oh no, I don't know the answer to this. But the weak move is an immediate defensive answer. Oh, well, and you just get into it without even thinking, without even processing, without even contemplating it. The stronger move, receive the question, pause, breathe, consider. You might even restate the question. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're wondering XYZ, is that correct? That kind of silence and that kind of pacing really communicates maturity. I'll share a story. Elon Musk, very polarizing man, love him or hate him. One thing that I noticed about him in interviews, it's kind of a little socially awkward sometimes, but I really noticed when he is asked a deep question, he contemplates and thinks and considers his answer for an uncomfortably long time. If you watch some of his, especially some of his early podcast interviews, I don't know if this is, I haven't seen much of him recently, but it almost seemed to me, it seemed like it was his robot AI brain processing it. Like the question was asked and he would just kind of sit there and he would really consider, which I think is something that we could all do a little more of. Really, he's considering what was the actual question? How does he really feel about that? What does he think the answer is? And then on top of that, how is he going to express it? How is he going to say it in a way that is received by the person asking the question? How is he going to say it in an intelligent manner, in a way that is comprehended? Pausing, yeah. So let's talk about some metaphors for silence. Love me some metaphors, and these metaphors really help you lock things in and lock concepts in. So if this is not locking in your brain, it is about to. These are some metaphors that have been given for silence. Silence is the frame around the painting or the frame around the idea. Without the frame, the art loses shape. Silence is the space between the musical notes. You ever think about that? It's almost like without light or without darkness, is there light? Well, without silence, is there music? Without that space, the music just becomes noise, 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 noise. But you need that silence. And without it, nothing is really heard, right? Silence is the white space on a page. Without it, the words aren't readable. Silence is the night sky around the stars. And without darkness, can you even see what would shine? It would just be this giant, shiny, well, that's why in the daytime you don't see the stars, right? You see our one star, our sun, but you don't really see the rest of them during the daytime. Without that darkness, you can't see what shines. So silence isn't the absence of power. It's the container that lets power be felt. You feel that? So let's talk about silence as a performance tool. And every performer, anytime you're in front of people, you're on stage, you're on screen, a lot of people understand this. So comedians really use silence. Often they're pausing before the punchline to create tension. And then often they're pausing after the punchline because they got to let people laugh and really soak that in. It's one of the worst things that you can do as a stand-up comedian is you run over your laughs. So you say the punchline, they laugh, and you're just, if you're thinking like in terms of a script or you've memorized your act, you're just going on to the next thing versus just being present. The room bursts into laughter, and often there's ripples of laughter. Sometimes people laugh longer, some people don't laugh right away, and then they get it a little later. So just letting that laughter bubble and boil and eventually simmer down, and then you get into it. A lot of actors really use silence. You know, some of your favorite actors, just one look or one gesture that can say a lot more than like a paragraph of scripting. Public speakers, they use silence all the time. Again, pausing after a key line really lets that land, lets people feel it. It's like a gut punch or a heart punch or a soul punch, you know? I don't know why I did this for your soul. Is your soul in your brain? Where's my soul? Podcasting as well. I'm often using silence here. So strategic beats creates intimacy and gravity. And if you fear silence, a lot of times you rush past your own impact. So a lot of talented people, knowledgeable people, experts in your field, you have all this world-changing information that can change the lives of your clients, but you're sabotaging yourself just by stepping on your own moments. You're stepping on your own knowledge. You're stepping on your own expertise. Let that land with silence. You say something strong, and then you dilute it with 6 extra sentences. Say the line, pause, let it hit, and trust the moment. Now, real quick, if you're already realizing that presence has a lot less to do with scripts and more to do with the signals that are being sent and received to your audience, I have built something for you. That's right, just for you. Hop on Instagram, send me a DM with the word quiz. My Instagram, if you're not following me already, is at Joey Freddy Larson. JoeyFredddyLarsen. Make sure to follow, because if you send me a DM and you're not following, it might end up in that weird folder and I'll never see it. So send me the word quiz, and I'm going to send you the link to our magnetic presence quiz. And it'll take you about 63 seconds to take this quiz. And it's going to help you identify what's helping your presence, what's weakening it, where you're losing clients, losing bookings, losing sales, losing authority, losing presence, and then where your biggest opportunity to fix that is, so that you're being more magnetic on stage, on screen, and in life, so that you can turn your live attention and live audiences into more clients, more bookings, and more sales. Hop on Instagram, send me a DM that says quiz. All right, let's continue. Listening and silence. You see, most people, they're not listening. They're just waiting to talk. I'm not even listening to what you're saying. I'm just, when is it my turn? My turn, blah, 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 blah. Or in the movie, I think it was Man on the Moon, Jim Carrey plays Andy Kaufman, but he also plays Tony Clifton, who is Andy Kaufman's like alter ego, the lounge singer guy. And Tony Kaufman comes in and he gets the script and he's like, bullshit, bullshit, my line, bullshit, bullshit, my line. And a lot of times people are listening like that, where while the other person's talking, your brain's just bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Ooh, it's my turn. And that kills connection. But magnetic people make others feel felt. So, and how do they do that? They're actually listening fully. And while they're listening, they're not mentally rehearsing the perfect line, the perfect rebuttal. What am I going to say to the stupid thing that they said? No, they're just listening, receiving that information, letting the person be seen, giving them space, letting them be felt. And they're present enough to receive what's actually being said. And also paying attention to all the things that are not being said. Because remember, if communication is like 80, 90% nonverbal, it's not just listening to the words, it's receiving the person who's speaking, receiving all of their body language, their inflection, the receiving their pauses and their silence. And silence in conversation what it does is it really creates space for truth to emerge. What happens, often people reveal the most important thing after the pause, or you ask a question and they pause. And then you're like, you hesitated there, you paused. Why was that? So there's something to be gleaned by those pauses and silence. But what happens is when you interrupt too quickly, you miss those. If you're just ready to pounce, right? You just the second they give me a half a beat, I'm in there. No, you want to be more persuasive. Stop trying to be interesting and be more interested. That is one of the keys to charisma. And people will have a conversation and be like, wow, what a great conversationalist. And really, you were just leaning in and you were interested in what they had to say instead of being focused on all the stuff that you got to blah, 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 blah about yourself. Now, let's talk about silence and intuition. This is something that I love to talk about because there's a deeper layer to silence. So many people, you want clarity, but you never create the conditions for clarity. So you want all these answers, but your deepest answers rarely arrive in noise. And we are living in a world that is noise, 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 apps, notifications, social media, people DMing you, billboards, commercials, the radio, the TV. It's just like there's so much coming at us. But your deepest answers and the things that will change your life, they often arrive in stillness. It's during a walk into nature without your phone, during a meditation, in the shower, while you're just driving alone and you're kind of zoned out and you're just pondering something, sitting quietly after the world just stops shouting at you, right? Put your phone down and then just sit in that silence, let the universe speak to you. And really, when you think about it, that often the universe and your intuition, it's not yelling, it's a whisper. It's just these little persistent whispers in your ear. And if you don't find silence, you're never going to hear those whispers. I was on a hike today. I'm in Sedona. We went up to Boynton Canyon. I would say Boynton Canton. Boynton Canyon. It's a renowned hike. That's also a vortex, very powerful place, spiritual place, ancient, indigenous land, just breathtaking. And one of my favorite things about hiking up here was just the silence of nature. Now, interesting thing today, I often, when I do go on hikes, sometimes I like listening to a podcast. And today I was listening to School of Greatness. Shout out to Lewis Howes. And it was Dr. Joe Dispenza talking about quantum physics and healing and change and just super powerful podcast. So I was excited to listen to it. But as I was walking, I did have the nudge and the notion, like, I needed to just be out here in silence, like as incredibly powerful and transformational as this podcast is, what might be more powerful and transformational is to me be in this sacred space and just not be hearing voices in my head. So I took some time to just sit, relax, be there with Luna, and it was beautiful. So where can you find more silence? Because when that external input drops, your internal signals, the signals of the universe, Gus, as people say it, God, universe, source, however you want to put it, they become more audible. And so many people think like, oh, I just need an expert to give me advice. I just need to know what to do. I just need the step. I need the plan. I need the secret hacks. Often what you just need is less noise. And your intuition, again, it's not always dramatic. It's not like your intuition doesn't shout to you from a mountaintop, hey, this is what you should do with your life. No, it's just, hey, psst, psst, here's a nugget for you. And you're like, oh, shit, that was a drop. That was a download, yeah? Sometimes a quiet knowing gets just drowned out by our constant distractions. Now, silence and meditation. Meditation is very powerful. I would not call myself an expert in meditation, but I have had some very powerful experiences in meditation and breath work and exercises like that. And it's not about becoming someone else. It's like, oh, I got to be this perfect Buddha, right? Or this perfect entity that thinks no thoughts. No, it's just training your ability to stay present without needing constant stimulation. And then also recognizing, like almost like seeing your thoughts like clouds drifting by in the sky or thoughts drifting by in a river, and just recognizing that thinking, realizing like, okay, you're thinking about what you're thinking about, right? And that skills transfers everywhere. So when you can be more present and not move and not twitch and not think things and not distracted and not always reach for your phone in every 3 second silence, that skill transfers everywhere. You're going to become a better speaker. You're going to have better emotional control. Your relationships are going to be stronger. You will make better decisions. Your creativity will go through the roof as well. So if you can't sit still for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that tells you something about the regulation of your nervous system. And if your nervous system is very chaotic, usually your communication is very chaotic as well. And probably that means that your messages and your information and what you want to say to your clients and your audience are not going to be that well received. And presence on stage often begins with presence alone. Again, I've said it before in the podcast. This podcast is called Magnetic Presence Podcast. A lot of people focus on the magnetic part. I want to be more magnetic. Tell me how to increase my magnetism. How do I install the skills to be more magnetic? Well, that's only 50% of it. A big part of it is just presence, which means be in the now. Don't be thinking about all the shit in the past, and don't be worrying about all the stuff in the future. Be here now. So let's do some practical silence training. I'm going to give you, what do I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little tips that you can use to improve your use and ability of employing silence. So here's how you can build this skill of silence immediately. First, just add at least 1 beat before you answer. Bonus points for adding extra if you want to be Elon Musk. Like almost to the point where like people lean in like, hello, are you okay? Did you hear me? Did you have a stroke? What's going on there? So add a beat or 2 or 3 or 5 before someone answers. Just focus on that. Be intentional about that. When someone asks a question, pause before responding. There's a quote, I don't know who said it, but there's the quote of when something happens to us, our what we really have access to and what we really have control over is the space between something like an input happening to us and then our response to it. I feel like it might be a Wayne Dyer quote and I'm butchering it, but we have that little space. Something happens and then we can react immediately, or we can take advantage of that pause. Someone asks us a question, we can react, knee-jerk reaction. Don't be a knee-jerk. Pause, think about it, and then respond. Number 2, pause before key points. When you're about to drop a bombshell or something that you know your audience really needs to get, pause before that. It's almost like a palate cleanser. It's like eating the ginger when you're eating sushi. It just cleans the palate, and now you're ready to receive the next thing and really taste it. That was a good one. So before your most important sentences, slow down, pause, and then deliver it. And number 3, pause after key points. Let that meaning land. Let it drop on someone. That is such an incredible communication tool. You got something that you really want to land, say it, and then feel your audience go like, oof. And if it's really a mic drop moment, you'll hear people audibly and you'll feel it like, ooh, You'll see nods, head nodding, and people go down to their notepads. Like they just tasted something. That was good. Let me write that down. Number 4, remove your filler words. Notice things like, so anyways, kinda, sorta, maybe, probably, literally, all of those things. Replace those filler words with breath. Now, this is something that may take some time, but your awareness of that will really help. It's something I'm still working on. There it is. That's funny. I'm still working on it. See, I'm a human just like you. Now, number 5, practice silent eye contact without being a weirdo. Hold calm eye contact for for a few extra seconds, especially when you're just arriving somewhere. Create daily stillness is number 6. Even if it's just 5 minutes, be still, stop moving your body. If you have an itch, don't scratch it, don't twitch, don't adjust. Just let your nervous system feel uncomfortable for a second or 2 or 5, and then it usually goes away. Just sit in the stillness and silence. No phone, no inputs, just awareness of like, this is a human being. What a beautiful thing. Number 7 is, if you want, you can record yourself. You can listen back. You can notice where you rush, notice where a pause would increase your impact. Now, caveat, a lot of times when people listen to themselves back, they go into judgy mode, and you can be real judgy. It can bring up a lot of insecurities. So be gentle with yourself. Just treat it like an experiment, like you're a scientist. Just be curious and loving, not, oh my God, I said, look at I made that weird face. What am I doing with my hands? And that you can like give yourself like all kinds of neurotic psychosis and just weird stuff. You'll give yourself a syndrome just watching yourself. So be gentle with yourself when you do that. So here's the real reframe. So many people think that silence means you have nothing to say. Wrong. A lot of the times what it means is you have the confidence not to oversell your ideas. A lot of times weak communicators use way more words than necessary. Maybe this could have just been like 3 sentences and I could have wrapped this, could have been a 30-second podcast. But strong communicators use the right words delivered with space. And remember, the goal isn't to become quieter. No, I'm not saying that. I want you to use your voice. I want you to shout your messages from a mountaintop, but I also want you to find those silence and find that space and find the pause. Your goal is to become intentional. And I'll say something about me in person too. I can be big and loud and larger than life on stage. I've done a lot of stand-up comedy, a lot of big, larger than life roles in TV and film. But in my real life, I'm often a little bit of a fly on the wall. I am comfortable with silence. I've been on long drives with close friends and family members where I am almost too comfortable in silence, to the point where I'm thinking, does this person think I'm a psychopath because I'm not talking, or do they think I'm mad at them or something? But no, I don't think they do. I can be in the presence of someone, be in their company, and just enjoy. I can be with a loved one. I've had partners where I'm on a walk with them and we're not saying anything. And it's not that cold, silent treatment. It's just we're both out enjoying ourselves. She's enjoying herself. I'm enjoying herself. And I don't feel a need that I got to fill in every silence. So if you're ever on a long road trip with me, and and where I'm not blabbing the whole way, it's just because a lot of the times I am totally comfortable in that silence. I'm happy and content in your presence, and I'm just enjoying the moment, enjoying the drive, enjoying the walks. Hot tip about how to deal with me. So remember, silence isn't awkward unless you make it awkward. Silence isn't emptiness. It is signal to other people's nervous systems. It's confidence, it's composure, and silence is power. Yes, if this episode helped you, share it with someone who speaks, leads, sells, performs, or wants to command more attention on stage, on screen, or in any room in real life. And if you want to go deeper, and I know you do, because you're here, you're listening, you can join the priority list for the next round of Magnetic Performance Mastery. That's my new program. Well, newish now by the time you're listening to this, but I am pumped for this program. I love it. I love my clients and students. They are business owners. They are course creators, online experts, personal brands, creators, speakers, leaders. And what we do is we help you train to become more magnetic by installing this skill set and working on this skill set, giving you frameworks and also giving you the live coaching opportunity to work on these things in a safe space so that you can become more magnetic on stage, on screen, online, and in real life, so that you can start turning more of the attention you're getting in these big moments into bigger opportunities, more clients, more bookings, and more sales. So to do that, go right now to joeyfreddylarson.com/founder. That's joeyfreddylarson.com/founder. And you can become a founding member in this first year of Magnetic Performance Mastery. I've been an actor and performer for 17 years. 10 years before that, I was a sales manager and a sales trainer running a branch for a financial services company. I've also coached actors for the last 10 years, helping them stand out and book lead roles in TV, film, and theater. I love working with people on this topic. I love this podcast. Thank you for listening to this. And I know that you have gleaned some value from this. And remember, in an AI world, where content is common and commoditized and knowledge is just ubiquitous, it's out there at a touch of a button, it is your human presence that is and will be forever your number one differentiator. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.